night, everyone. My name is Anna Reese, and I'm the Recreation Park Superintendent for the City of Salinas. Thank you for being here for our District 5 community meeting. So this is our agenda for tonight. We're going to hear from our police chief. We're going to hear from our fire chief, and we're going to hear from community development and code enforcement, from our code enforcement manager. After the presentation, we're going to go ahead and do a Q&A session. So that's going to be the opportunity for you to ask questions to any of them. And then we're going to do our closing. But before we dive into why we're here tonight, I want to go through some community agreements. And this is really about respecting each other, respecting the space, ensuring that we're kind and nice to each other, also being mindful about the time that we take in this meeting and allowing others to also share their thoughts and opinions. There is some food. If you haven't grabbed some, please do so. Restrooms are in this corner, so if you need them, please feel free to grab them. Before we dive into our police department presentation, I'd like Councilmember Sandoval to give us and kick us off and give us our official welcome.
Well, welcome everybody. My name is Andrew Sandoval. I'm the council member for District 5, which is a lot of North Salinas. It's my honor to be able to host you tonight. I want to give a big thanks to, of course, our staff, Monica, and I want to recognize our city manager, Mr. Rene Mendez. He's right there in the back. Thank you, Rene, for all you're doing for us. And right next to him is Council Member Tony Barrera. Welcome. I also recognize we have a couple of different commissioners here that work very hard for the city of Salinas. We have Joey Alvarado representing District 5, Measure E, of course, former Commissioner Mitch Huerta from also Measure E. Welcome, thank you, Mitch. Current trustee for the Salinas Union High School District, and also we have Jesus, who just walked in. I just saw him. He's on our Arts Commission. So, anyways, I just want to. Where is he at? Is he here? Well, big round of applause. Our Director of Community Development for being here, and I just want to thank all the residents and all the community folks for being here. And I will be here for the meeting, and I'll be glad to hand out my card and just feel free to reach out anytime. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Anna. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilmember Sandoval. And now let's really dive into why we're here. With you guys is our Chief Acosta.
Thank you, Anna. Hello, everyone. Good evening. Thank you for being here. Councilmember Sandoval, thank you for the pleasure of having us, directors, along with our fire department and code enforcement to provide you with a presentation. We're going to start with a police department presentation. I also have with me Commander Kendall Gray and Officer Nate Reyes back there, so I know we're going to have some questions. And they'll also be here after the meeting to address anything you may have. All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about our priorities here at the police department, some of the things that we'll be working on. I'm going to provide some data, some statistics about crime in the city overall. We also have some information regarding District 5. Some of the priorities we have here at the police department. Of course, number one is relational equity, building those community partnerships, building new partnerships and fostering the existing ones by mutual cooperation. So we build that trust with all of you. This is an outstanding showing, so I'm really excited that you're all here. We're also working on workforce development. What does that mean? Opportunity, growth, through training and advanced technology features, and also training and excellence. Right? We want to build a workforce that is highly trained and professional to make sure that we service our community and our city here in Salinas. This is an organizational chart of what the department looks like, how many commanders and who's responsible for what. We have a police administrator It's responsible for our finance department. We have 4 commanders that are designated in the patrol structure. For example, this particular area, District 5, is supervised and managed by Commander Kendall Gray. We also have our administration, our violence suppression task force, our SWAT team, investigations, etc. These are some numbers related to staffing. We get a lot of questions of how many police officers does the city of Salinas have? How many police officers do we need? So we have 146 of those positions that are actually filled, authorized 161, which includes 4 frozen positions. So 141 that are actually in the patrol structure, 5 police recruits are actually in the police academy training. So we have a little bit, before they get to the police department, we talked about the 4 frozen positions give us the authority to hire 11 police officers. Interesting statistic here, back 25 years ago, we had 5 Spanish-speaking officers in this police department. Today, I'm happy to report that over 48% of our workforce is Spanish-speaking. That's 71 Spanish-speaking officers. Females, the national average is about 14%. We are at that average, 14.4%. A couple of crime statistics that I kind of want to highlight. Last year in 2024, we ended with 6 homicides in the city. 1 homicide too many, but if we go back 10 years ago, we had 40 and 36 homicides. In a city of 160,000 people, 24 square miles. So we have made some significant strides in lowering that homicide rate. The most important thing in this number is that most of our homicides are solved 67 to 70% solve rate. That means anytime we have one of these unfortunate incidents, 70% of the time we have somebody identified or in custody. Robberies were slightly down in 24 from 23. Burglaries were slightly down. Aggravated assaults were slightly up. Larcenies and thefts and motor vehicles were slightly up as well. Some of the priorities moving forward we'll talk a little bit about is obviously recruiting and retention, organizational wellness, community engagement, and some of the youth programs that here at the police department. We have a lot of youth programs and a lot of great work that this department is doing with young adults throughout the city. Our recruiting and retention, in 2025, we hired 7 lateral police officers and graduated 15 police recruits from the academy. That's significant. In 2024, I believe we hired 2 laterals, and in 2023, we hired 1 lateral. So a significant increase this year. Again, 15 recruits graduated. One of the things we did is some lateral movement. The biggest complaints we get is speeding, fatalities, pedestrian safety, which is a big concern of ours. So we added another full-time police officer into our motorcycle unit. Key positions that we added in the police department on the civilian side was a forensic specialist, a management analyst, and 2 positions that we're currently working on is a communications specialist and a recruiting coordinator, all in a civilian role. I talk a lot about organizational wellness, not officer wellness. What we can do as an organization to making sure that our officers are mentally, physically, emotionally ready to go out there and do the job they need to do. So we're focusing on expanding our peer support team. We're happy to report we just completed our wellness chaplaincy program, which is 4 full-time pastors throughout the city of Salinas that volunteer their time to support our men and women in this police department. We've also brought in some highly specialized training for our officers. The first one was Dr. Gil Martin, who's a renowned psychologist who talks about the psychology of policing. He was actually a police officer himself in Arizona for 20 years. We brought in a sleep study doctor, Dr. James, and then we brought in some training on injury prevention, nutrition, workout programs for our police department. The last one is a financial education piece to help our police officers understand the finances behind the organization and for them personally. Our community engagement I talked a little bit about. Your team is really hard at work, considering we only have 2 full-time community outreach specialists. A department this size, in a city this size, they've done 102 presentations with over 19,000 contacts. Think about that. We are teaching gang prevention, anti-bullying presentations. We do career day. We've done it at Alisal High, Rancho Cielo. We're currently working with other high schools, including the private schools. We can come in there and provide that interaction with police officers and professional staff and introduce them to the profession. Whether it's rodeo, Salinas Air Show, El Grito, numerous events, 19,000 contacts with our amazing cadets and our community engagement specialists. Our youth cadet program, they've dedicated over 1,200 community service hours just in 2024. We're on pace to repeat the same amount of time this year in 2025. We have 35 cadets. I'm happy to report that 2 cadets are moving on to San Jose State and Fresno State. And they were cadets for many years with us. So we're going to have to open our recruiting process here. But I really want to showcase that 72%, we have more cadets on the Salinas Police Department than 72% of Monterey County police agencies have officers. Think about that. We have more cadets in Marina, Carmel, Delray Oaks, King City, Marina. We have more cadets than they actually have full-fledged police officers here at the Salinas Police Department. Something we're really proud of. We started a youth diversion program in January of 2025. Happy to report that we had 7 youth currently enrolled in the diversion program, and we had 12 graduate this last year. 12 graduated. This is where it's a low intrusive crime, and this particular individual gets advocacy, resources through their parents, through the schools, through the district attorney's office, and other community leaders to making sure that this individual gets advocacy and referral services to making sure they're making good decisions, that they don't repeat the offense while we're currently dealing with it. It's a fantastic program, and we get a lot of positive feedback behind that. These are our cadets here. 8 of our 35 cadets in action. They do a lot of community events. You'll see them at the Parade of Lights, at the air show, El Grito, a lot of community involvement. And a lot of them become community service officers, police officers, forensic specialists. We have a lot of great teams that started out as cadets and youth. I know we're going to have a lot of questions at the end, so I'm going to turn it over to Salinas Fire Chief Sam Clement, but this is our annual report from 2024. There's a lot of data, a lot of information as it reflects how we clear cases, how many community events we attend, how many long-term investigations resulted in arrest. That's actually on our City of Salinas Police Department website as well. Obviously, we don't have the 2025 annual report. That'll come up hopefully in late February or early March. So I'll turn it over to Fire Chief Sam Clement. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Good evening, everybody. I'm Sam Clement. I'm your Salinas Fire Chief. I want to also introduce Deputy Chief Shane Vanderbeek there in the back. We'll also be here with you to help answer some questions and clarify some things. Also, up here on the front counter, if you missed it when you came in, we have our annual report. This is also available on our website, our last couple of years' report for 23 and 24. And we're working on our statistics for 2025. So a lot of what I'm going to talk about is sort of based on our statistical data, and also tell you some of the things that are going on in the fire department. We have 6 fire stations in the city of Salinas. We've had that for well over 3 decades. We built our last fire station that opened in the year 2000, Station 5, out on Ryder Avenue in the east. So I'm going to talk a little bit about these statistics. and call your attention to a few things. In that, we are a fire department that has been rebuilding. We have ebbed and flowed with budgets, with staffing shortages, like most other cities and jurisdictions across the country. And so what we really focus on is trying to make sure that we are there 24/7 to respond to emergencies with the right amount of equipment, the right amount of staffing, who are trained and able to respond to anything that comes our way. We are an all-risk fire department, which anymore when we talk about the fire department, the word fire isn't quite so much what we focus on, right? It's everything else that we do. Most of the calls we go to, almost 80% of our calls are emergency medical services calls. On our fire engines, every fire engine in the city of Salinas has a paramedic on board. We're very proud of that. We've been doing that since the 80s. That's an important service that we provide, and we feel it's important to maintain that service because there's no one there to back us up. Our contract in Monterey County is for ambulances is based on a private contract that comes up every so many years. It's a for-profit business, and it's a very finite business model that is there for a purpose, right? Whereas what we provide in the city of Salinas as part of our services is strictly for the residents of the city of Salinas. So we're very proud of that program. What I can say, one of the good things that we have been able to accomplish in the last couple of years with council help and support is being able to grow our own paramedics from within. For many, many years, we struggled to keep paramedics. They're a commodity. They're tough to hire. And so we would hire folks from out of the area. We'd go to the Bay Area, the Central Valley, Southern California, just to hire paramedics to be on our rigs. And the problem with that is they only stay for so long before they leave. And so recently we've been able to secure that funding through council support to have our own paramedic program here in Monterey County that other fire departments can feed folks into using our own local staff that we hire here and train them and have them work here in the city. And it's worked out phenomenally. And I really appreciate that support and want to see that move forward. What I want to call your attention to is this statistic here at the bottom. You see our total number of calls are approaching 18,000. Whereas in the year 2007, our annual call volume was just about 11,000 calls a year. We did that with 23 personnel on duty every day, and we did it with 8 fire apparatus, so 6 fire engines and 2 ladder trucks essentially. Ladder truck was added in 2015. We still have 6 fire stations. In 2016, you can see our call volume jumped to almost 14,000, again with the same amount of personnel, the same amount of apparatus. And you can see by our 2024 stat, we're now at 18,000 calls with 24 personnel on duty every day and the same number of apparatus. So the math and the trend in this, you can see where we're going with this. It's trending in the wrong direction. And we're really trying to grow with the city, with all of the development that is slated for the outskirts of the city. That's an important thing for us to grow with the city so we can maintain our service levels and our response times. This is another comparison that just kind of shows against national standards and our regional standards in the Western region. The national standard is about 1.2 firefighters per 1,000 of a population. In the Western region here, we're just under 1, so that accounts for everything west of the Rockies, essentially. You can see in Salinas, we're falling short of that, and that's an area of focus for us. We have 101 suppression staff. Those are the actual firefighters on our fire engines every day responding to calls, supported by 6 administrative staff and 8 prevention staff. That's out there doing inspections, mainly focusing on the mandated inspections, schools, apartment buildings, and our high-risk occupancies. So we're also working to build that division of the fire department up and restructure that as a community risk reduction division that really focuses on prevention of the emergencies in the first place. Everything we can do from education to inspection and outreach to prevent those emergencies from happening. So again, this is just looking at our response times. So when we talk about our staffing levels and the number of apparatus we have and the number of personnel we have, this is how it translates into response times against national standards. National standards to respond to a fire is about 5.5 minutes, 5 minutes, 20 seconds. And to respond to a medical emergency is just about 5 minutes. If you look at our numbers, and where it says the 90th percentile, that's taking out the outliers, right? But that's where 90% of our calls are averaged into those response times, where our fire response times are about 8 minutes and 41 seconds, and our EMS response times are about 8 minutes and 28 seconds. Now obviously, depending on where you live and where we're concentrated, those fluctuate, and I do have some tools I'm going to share with you where you can look at those numbers and those statistics real time whenever you want. But this is just to basically punctuate where we have not been able to grow over the years. This is the effect of that, not being able to grow with the city. Also of concern too is the number of simultaneous calls we have. Where at any given time, you can see almost 6,000 times a year we have at least 2 calls going on in the city. Almost 3,000 times a year, 3 calls, and 1,000 times a year, 4 calls, and so on and so forth. And where that becomes a concern is we also have a fire problem in Salinas. We have an excessively high rate of fires due to a number of reasons. But fire calls take more resources. They take more fire engines. We don't just send 1 fire engine to a house fire. We send 3. And those are based on safety standards and OSHA regulations and also firefighter safety. This is our new dashboard that's on our website, and I'll show you the actual website with the dashboard, but you can see again where these numbers are trending in the wrong direction, and that's what we're focusing on doing, changing the direction of those numbers. Another statistic is unit hour utilization. And what that means is the number of hours in a day that there is a fire engine available to respond to your emergency. And that national standard is 10%. When a fire engine is utilized at 10% of its usable hours, and then it's available to take a call, that's the average across the country. And you can see by this chart that all of our fire apparatus, sorry about that, that our fire apparatus, with the exception of our 2 ladder trucks, are at or above that unit hour utilization. So what we're doing to actively change those numbers, a number of things. Obviously, we're trying to add staff. Anything we can do to add unit hours. So changing some of the things we respond to and how we respond to them, which means triaging some of those calls, changing the way we're dispatched, changing the technology that will help us speed up the dispatch process. So those are some of the ways, besides staffing, adding more fire engines that can help this number, but ultimately the fire department needs to grow with the community. You can see your medic engine 2 is right here on Laurel Drive, the business intersection in the county. And you can see their calls by unit are about 36, almost 3,700 calls a year just for that 1 fire engine. Whereas by contrast, some of the other agencies, 3,700 calls a year is their entire department's call volume for the entire year. So we'll talk about some of the better stuff now that I've painted that picture for you. We have been able to add staffing. Last year, during our 150th anniversary, we graduated the largest academy that we've ever graduated, 17 folks we were able to hire. We've been supported by FEMA with grants. Our last grant we got to hire those folks, 9 of them were supported with a $4.6 million grant. We've been successful 5 times in getting that grant, and we continue to have success with that. And we will continue to pursue those grants, and also with the support of council to augment that staffing. Fire Station 7, we've actively begun to work on planning for Fire Station 7 and the future growth area. Addressing response times, like I said, by changing the way we respond to things and how we respond to things, starting to ring out a few more unit hours. We're also going to pilot Engine 7. So before Fire Station 7 is built, we plan on using some of the staffing with a little bit of overtime to help put Engine 7 on the street now and gather the data to point us in the right direction to see where those resources need to be focused. I talked a little bit about our community risk reduction program, adding a commercial business inspection program, which is something that we abandoned back in the mid-1990s when staffing got very low. We've been able to build this division of the fire department back up. Like I said, we were focusing primarily on the things that we were mandated to inspect, and now we're focusing on the things that help the community prosper. Again, preventing the emergencies. You can imagine Dick Green Fire. Everyone remembers the Dick Green Fire, correct? Okay, in Old Town. So just to kind of paint this picture for you, being able to keep a fire like that in the box, we'll call the four walls of the Dick Green building the box. And while that was an expensive loss, and that was about a $5 million fire, but if you can imagine, just picture for a second, if that fire would have gotten out of the box and taken off down the block, and taken off every business on its way south or north, until it stopped at Steinbeck Center, or it stopped somewhere down on Main Street somewhere. So by looking at that, when you think of not only the property loss, the loss in tax revenue from sales tax, the loss of jobs of the folks that work in those areas, the loss of the use of all of that area, the depression it would create to the downtown. So I explain this to you because we look in terms of not just dollars lost, but dollars saved. So we match our budget, our annual budget, against the dollars that we save. And that's how we quantify what your fire department can do for you, and what expanding your fire department and expanding your risk reduction program can do for you in terms of protecting the investments that you're making in the community. Community engagement. We too have been able to reboot our Explorer program after a 20-year hiatus. So we started off last year with 15 new cadets, and we were able to expand that program to, I think it was 20 or 25 this year, of all local cadets who go through a process of applying to and participating in weekly or weekend drills throughout the month. They just finished their annual last drill for the year before a new cohort will start pretty soon. But what that does for us is partnering with ROP and partnering with our local fire academies. We get these youth into our sphere of influence early, to where we can then scholarship them through the Salinas Firefighters Foundation, provide scholarships, get them into the fire academy here at NPC, get them into the ROP program, and then guess what? I have a whole pool of candidates I can hire from right here in Salinas, and it's been working out fabulous. Hiring local. That has been our focus, and it is working. So with that, I appreciate your attention, and I would love to talk to you after the program, and anytime I'm available. We'd like to have people come right along with us and just see what we do. We're also planning probably mid next year, Operations 101. It's a program where we'll invite the public, and we'll invite some of our other officials to come spend 4 hours in the Salinas Fire Department. Councilmember Sandoval can attest to what he saw and what he was able to do and learn about the fire department. And so we're going to do that again this year, and we've been inviting people who want to come down and just experience it. So thanks for your attention.
Thank you. We're going to go ahead and move on. So with us is Code Enforcement Manager, Lorenzo Sanchez.
Good evening. So it's nice to see a lot of familiar faces. And if I haven't said hi to you yet, there'll be some time later on this evening where I can stop by and say hi. I do want to talk to each and every one of you and introduce myself personally. But my name is Lorenzo Sanchez. I'm the Code Enforcement Manager with the City of Salinas. I've been with the city for 10 years. I've been involved in code enforcement for 20 years, firefighter for 5 years, and dispatcher for 2 years. So I'm very familiar with community service, with fire. I've worked with PD and Soledad. So I'm very in tune with what the needs of the city are, and I'm here to help out. So our code enforcement division, we have 10 people in our staff for the entire city of Salinas. We're comprised of 5 code enforcement officers, 1 senior, myself, and 3 admin. And I'm happy to introduce my senior code enforcement officer, Cindy Guerrero. And she's been with the city 32 years? 28, right? 28 years. So she's very familiar with the needs of the city. We have Marianne Mercado, who's been with the city for about a year. She's admin A, and she's probably the voice that you're going to hear if you call the city with concerns, questions, or if you want to file a complaint. She's probably one of the voices that you're going to be hearing. And we also have 1 admin clerk, 1 admin analyst for code enforcement to support our code enforcement officers as they go out and conduct their inspections and do the follow-ups, their letters, their notices, and communication and the outreach to the public. Like I said, we have myself and then the senior 2 code enforcement officers and 3 code enforcement officer 1s. We just hired another code enforcement officer 1, which is in the chart, is going to be starting in January 5th. So we're able to grow and provide the needs for the city. We have another code enforcement officer that's been with us about 8 years, and 1 that's been with us 6 months. So we're planning on growing, building, and teaching them how to provide for the needs of Salinas, because we want to make sure that we're providing the best product for the city. So compliance and education. That's one of the models that I drive and I came up with when I first started with the city. I want to reach out. I want to be there. I want to hear the questions that you guys have, the concerns that you have in your neighborhoods, and try to work on them as best as I can. So I am here to listen. One of the things we do is detection. We get the complaints. So if there's an issue, we want to hear about it. And right now we are 90% reactive, which means we get the complaints either through a portal, a phone call, email, voicemail, and we're able to respond to those complaints. 10% of the enforcement activities that we do is proactive, where we're out there looking for violations or talking to the public, knocking on doors, not necessarily giving out a citation or issuing a notice of violation. It's knocking on our door saying, hey, you know what? You got some trash in the front, can you guys please pick it up? Or you have a vehicle that's on jacks, it's dangerous. If a little kid were to come by, tap it or something, it could fall on them. Or whether it's bushes or fences, we talk to people. It's that detection, that very first part. And it's being out there in the public. Second is the investigation. We receive the complaints and we have to verify whether it's a valid complaint or not. We're not just going to send you a notice of violation, send you a citation. We have to investigate, take some time and see, okay, is this a problematic property? Have we been out there before? Are we contacting the right person? Are we talking to the property owner or are we talking to the tenant? So there's some investigation that goes hand in hand with code enforcement. It's not just an automatic, hey, go give them a citation. We need to find out what's going on. Enforcement. So this is the hard part of our jobs. Although we're code enforcement officers, we have to enforce. Like I said, my primary goal is compliance with education and outreach. I want to explain to you what the violation is, why it is a violation, and correct it rather than go the enforcement route. Unfortunately, there's people out there that don't want to listen. So we have to escalate a little bit. We have to do that enforcement piece. And my officers are well trained. We go through our 3 modules, our basic, intermediate, and advanced modules for code enforcement to learn how to escalate, to learn what the next steps are. We do follow a prescribed method of outreach, the investigation, the notices, and then the citations if needed. So there is an escalation, there is a process that we go through. Outreach. So like I said, events like this, I love doing events like this. I love talking to the public, I love talking to you guys, I like seeing new faces. I want to know who I'm talking to, I want to see what the problems of the city are, so that we can address them. And like a lot of familiar faces that I see here, you guys can come up to me and I can come up to you and we know each other. And that's part of the outreach. It's that bond that we create. It's those relationships that we create so that we can better help you. Education. There's always a reason why we're asking somebody to do something. So it's not just because the code said so, because that's the way it is. There is a reason for what we're asking you to do. You have to cut down your fence in the front yard, it's 6 feet tall. Well, I want that. Well, now you compromise the visibility of some of the car coming by, the pedestrian coming by. So there's an educational piece to it. We're not just to say, do this because we said so. Do this because the city said so. There's going to be a reason, and that's the education. Prevention. We're out there, we're in our proactive role, we're trying to prevent new code violations, complaints coming in, the public, the neighbors calling and saying, hey, they got trash out there. We're out there, we're driving our cars around, they are marked, say code enforcement. Just to let people know we're watching, we're here to help out. If you want to stop us and ask us a question, stop and ask us a question. That's what we're here for. We want to prevent things from happening. Just like fire prevention has their fire prevention because they don't want to go out to fires. Even though it's called fire department, that's one of the last things they want to do because somebody's going to lose their home. There's a risk of that fire. We are part prevention as well. So some of the things that we look at on a daily basis, and these are just minor things, water heaters that aren't properly installed. It's not a big deal, right? But it is. So a water heater that's not properly installed, if there is a seismic event, could tip over. The gas lines are going to get released. That thing can turn into a rocket really, really fast. So that's one of the things we take a look at. Is it installed properly? The PTR on it, pressure temperature relief piping on it. We don't want people to get scalded. Is it mounted right? Is it secure? Does it have, we look at the V-vents. Is there any carbon monoxide that's going to be being released? Where's the location of it? Has it been moved from its original location? Is it put in a bedroom? So these are, or is it in a garage? Is somebody sleeping in a garage with a water heater? So these are things that we have to look at on a day-to-day basis. Overgrown vegetation. How many of you want to wake up in the morning and see that overgrown vegetation every day? And especially during fireworks season, it's dry. We get a firework that lands on there. Now we have fire coming out and try to put that fire out. And then risk it going to the home, embers go to the next home, and so on and so forth. So that's one of the things we do as well. We do prevention with our weed abatement program. Our weed abatement program used to run from March to July. We've changed that where we're doing it year-round. So we're going to be sending letters out year-round. It's not just a small window of time because we realize that there is a problem. And we want to prevent any fires from happening. So hopefully fire doesn't have to go out there and put these fires out and not be able to help somebody else with another issue. This one right here at the bottom, I know you can't see it very well. But we have a plumbing, a restroom that was put in a garage. So venting issues, all the gas is coming back out. We have a car that's on jacks. This picture right here, this window, it's blocking an egress window. So a lot of people don't think about this. It's a window, it's outside, no one's gonna, but how do people get out? How do firefighters get in? So they don't think about that either. So we need to make sure that these egress windows are clear, and plus that's a breeding ground for rodents. So we do talk to the public about that, and we do give reasons why. So our process is we receive a complaint via Salinas Connect, which is the app. You can give us a phone call, 758-7157. You can email us at codeenforcement@ci.salinas.ca.us, or you can come in person, 65 West Alsop. Come in and talk to us. We'll be glad to talk to you. If you don't know if it is a violation, we can walk you through it, we can talk to you, we can explain whether it is or not. So once we get that complaint, our code enforcement officer is scheduled to go out and validate the complaint. Is it something that we can send a notice out to? So we go out there, it's a complaint about debris in the front yard. So we get the complaint, we send an officer out there, there's no debris. So it's unfounded, we close the case. It may have been that they were working on something, they were going to the dump, and they cleaned it up, but we're not gonna penalize somebody for that. If the junk, trash, and debris is still there, we'll either knock on the door, leave a notice, or we'll send a notice of violation. You're on violation for junk, trash, and debris in your front yard. You have X amount of days to clean it. We follow up. If it's cleaned up, great, we close the case. If it's not cleaned up, we gave them their fair time. We issue a citation with the new timeline. If they fail to respond, we do another citation, and they do escalate. So, one of the things is, we try to work with everybody as much as we can. Give everybody a fair break. Give them new timelines. Someone can always call us up and say, hey, you know what, we were out of town, we didn't know what was going on. We didn't know that, but thank you for calling. How soon can you fix it? So, and then, you know what, I understand what happened, you were out of town, whatever the issue was. If you can fix it by the end of the week, we'll remove citations. And that's something we can do because we want compliance. Compliance over the citation is what we're going for. We just want to try to do the best we can for the community. So open and closed cases for last year, or actually from January to yesterday, I think it was, we ran these numbers. So these are the types of cases that we run and that we closed. Open cases, we had 3 dangerous buildings, 32 illegal auto repair, 95 illegal occupancy, and that could be somebody living in a shed, living in a motorhome, living in the garage, converting a room that's not habitable into somebody staying there. We have 64 inoperable vehicles. So when I talk about inoperable vehicles and code enforcement, we deal with vehicles, or we deal with private properties. We have a division with the police department where they have abandoned vehicles, we have labs, they deal with public. They deal with the public on the streets. We do private properties. So these are the numbers, you can take a look at those. These are the number of cases that we closed on the right hand side. This is District 5. So this is your district, this is your area, the numbers. We had a total of 192 cases that we opened, 161 that we closed. And we probably have about another 300 cases that are active, that we're still working on. Our objectives in code enforcement is to continue to collaborate with the police department and the Salinas Fire Department, attend more outreach events, such as these, grow our staffing to better serve the community, continue our proactive enforcement. Well, like I said, we have 5 officers out in the field, and we have 160,000 population to deal with. We have all the districts, the whole entire city of Salinas, so it's very difficult to really focus on proactive, but we're doing the best we can on that. And we want to bring more awareness to code enforcement. With the help of Facebook, social media, Instagram, the narrative of code enforcement has been changing. Where it's not, oh, big bad code enforcement's here. It's like, no, great code enforcement's here, and they're gonna help us. So we're trying to change the narrative. So without any delay, if you guys have any questions, I'm gonna turn this back over to Anna, and I wanna thank you for your time, and I appreciate you coming out.
Thank you. Thank you to our fire chief, to our police chief, and to our code enforcement manager. Now, this is the opportunity for you to ask questions of them. Any questions on the presentation? So, yeah, raise your hand and then I'll come to you.
Yeah, I have a question for the police chief.
Okay.
I'd like to know, you didn't mention it, I don't know if it's in your annual report, but there's a van running around with a paramedic and a mental health professional in each van. It's a state law. And I talked to police officers about it, and there's one out to the hospital, and there's another one, I forget where. The health department, the county health department. So I'd like to know how that's working with the police department. How many calls have been referred to this van, these professionals that would have gone to police, but now can go to these other professionals if it's a mental health issue. Often it's a mental health issue, these people have been shot in the past. So with this mobile unit going around, is it drug overdose, is it a drug-related issue, or a domestic oral? They have the option to call the police. I want to know how this is influencing the number of calls the police have had to go out to that's now been referred to this van. And then how's that affecting your budget?
Thank you, great question. And just so I understand the question correctly, there's mobile mental health that goes out and deals with calls for service that are generated sometimes through the police department related to community members in crisis, potential of a mental health nexus. Are the police department responding to that? Was that your question? Yeah. So that's obviously an incredible resource for us here in Monterey County, especially in Salinas. Our goal is to obviously have the best possible outcome in any call for service that we go to. When there is a mental health nexus to that, and there's no criminal element, we obviously want to bring in those mental health partners here to assess and provide those wraparound services and get them the attention they need, whether that's at a hospital, whether that's through acute care or long-term care, whatever that might be. I will tell you that 90% of the police department officers in the Salinas Police Department have crisis intervention training that allows them to identify characteristics related to people in crisis or mental health. So our goal is to obviously not get into any use of force and making sure that we have the best possible safe outcome when we deal with those individuals. As far as the budget, I don't really know how it's affected our budget, but I will tell you, any mental health resource program that's initiated, funded, or allocated in this city is going to be an absolute great resource for us.
That's the budget because the budget is not from your budget, they're a different budget.
Yes, it's not in our budget. I know we have a contract, and we do contract with other entities such as potentially mobile mental health and others to help us because they're not for free. So, but it's not in our budget at all.
Thank you. I have another question back here.
It's not really a question, it's a suggestion. But before I start, I want to say thank you to our city officials and staff for giving your time to come into District 5 and make presentations and be available for one-on-one. It's greatly appreciated. It's far more effective than, over the phone or in the mail. So I really, really appreciate your time and effort. My suggestion is for code enforcement, and I think I saw you yesterday on my street, maybe. Thank you. But I think the number one issue for me with code enforcement is education. I really believe that the residents and the homeowners are not aware of what the rules and regulations and ordinances are, and they need to be educated. So to that, what I would suggest is the city already knows the type of infractions, and they know where the infractions are taking place. So I would create a map. Just put it on the map. Here's the highest areas of infractions. Create a zone and say, okay, we know the lots or streets or neighborhoods. That's zone number 1. Let's get these addresses of residents and homeowners, and we're going to contact them directly, either through mail or even a little town hall. But the premise is this: how to be a good neighbor. It's not how to keep your neighborhood safe and clean, because a lot of people doesn't really move the needle. But I think you say how to be a good neighbor. Everyone wants to be a good neighbor. And then you list the 10 things that you can do. For example, if you really want to be a good neighbor, only put out your trash cans the night before or the morning of there's a pickup. And then once your cans have been cleaned or picked up, remove those cans and put them back. That's a good neighbor. A poor neighbor leaves them in the street, in the gutter, on the sidewalk. And just do the whole thing. And at the end, you'd say, if you have a problem or a dispute with a neighbor, call police. Don't try to handle it yourself. And then say the following are suggestions from our code enforcement. If you have any questions, here's our number, here's how to reach. It's not every place in Salinas, and it's not based on income or color of skin or political party. It's just certain areas, for whatever reason, they tend to have a higher concentration of violations. And that's a suggestion, and I think you know how to reach me if you're interested in following up on this, but there you go. And I appreciate all the work you're doing. Thank you.
I have a question back here.
Hello, my name is Maria. It's a question for the police department concerning the CIT training, the crisis intervention training. Is that mandatory? Is that voluntary? And you said 90% of your staff has CIT training. What would that look like? And how do people ask for officers that have CIT training, or is that just to be expected?
Great question. So it is not mandatory. When I got here, and I'm making it mandatory. So our goal is to have every police officer in this city highly trained. It's incredible training. It's 40-hour training, and you meet individuals that are in crisis. You meet individuals and doctors, specialists and counselors, and everybody. It's a 40-hour training. I'm making it mandatory. It's very difficult, I will tell you, because of cost, because of schedules, and where people work. But our goal is to try and get everybody as trained as possible. The question was, when can we ask for a CIT officer? When you make a call to 911, it's okay to ask, is there a CIT officer available? But I will tell you, 80%, I can't give you the direct number. Most of our officers in patrol. That's my priority, not in investigations, not in special operations, or other administrative duties that they have. If they're in patrol, my goal is to get them all CIT trained as soon as possible. We were in the mid-95 range. Now I just hired a few more officers, so it takes some time to do that.
Thank you.
I have a question for the fire chief. Sir, across for you. Thank you for your presentation. And it was eye-opening to me how many calls each of the fire houses get. It was also eye-opening that 18,000 figures, the majority of them were emergency services. And so you can see where the need is for paramedics, for people with that work. My question to you is the allocation of resources. So if we're doing the majority of those, it's the fire department, everybody thinks they're for fire, but in reality, they're doing the emergency services. So can you speak on the research? Number one is, are your fire personnel, are they properly trained for all the different emergency situations that they come upon? And number two, can you speak about prioritizing? So if you have a fire in one part of the city, but you've got an EMS situation over here, what do you do?
Okay, let me go this one back. Taking your first question, what I understood first is, are our personnel trained in different aspects beside fire? So I mentioned during my presentation that the word fire anymore, you see things like fire and rescue, emergency services, you can lump all these things into, but what we are categorized as an all-risk fire department, an all-risk emergency response agency, okay? Emergency medical services, fire suppression, fire prevention, rescue, swift water rescue. We have paramedics that are assigned to the SWAT team to assist in SWAT operations. We have critical incident stress team, internal wellness, like the chief talked about for the police department. As far as services in the community, the short answer is yes. They're sort of the jack of all trades, right? The elevator rescue, people stuck in the elevator. They're a little part engineer, right? Broken sprinkler head in your house, it's flooding your house. Well, we're going to go out there and we're going to shut off the water and try to get all the water in your house. Sort of a code 3 service master, if you will. So it's a little bit of everything. And I'm sorry, so the second part of your question
is, what are the resources that you need?
Okay.
Yeah, the additional resources.
So that was about prioritizing resources. So we are part of a county-wide dispatch system. We contract with the County of Monterey for a consolidated dispatch center that serves police departments all around the county, all of the fire departments in the county, and situated in that center is also the emergency ambulance provider, AMR. But we do share the same dispatch system that's all interconnected. So part of that process is being able to have the calls answered in a central location, and as dispatchers are putting that information in there, they're querying the caller, what is your emergency, and they transfer you. Once they get us started, they get us rolling, and you say, I have a medical emergency, and I live at 123 Main Street. Great. What's the nature of the problem? Someone having chest pain. Okay. Dispatcher stops and gets us rolling. And by that time now you've been transferred to an emergency medical dispatcher who is now asking you a lot of questions about what's going on. And so what happens is that call then starts, as we start to get more information, we can see it on computers in our apparatus. Every apparatus has one of these screens that we can look at the call, and we can start to make decisions about priority calls. And when I talked about multiple calls coming in at the same time, we can start to make those decisions based on the information we're getting from dispatch. Vehicle accidents where someone says, I heard a crash. Okay, well, where is the crash? Well, I heard it outside. Well, how many cars? I don't know. Where are you? Well, it's over there somewhere. Okay. Still, we need to address it, but maybe that's going to take a little lower priority than the heart attack that's coming at us. Someone calls 911. My stove's on fire, it's in my cabinets, and my elderly mother's in the back room. She can't walk, she's stuck in bed. Okay, that one goes to the top of the list. So we function on the premise of life, property, and the environment, in that order. So those are our priorities. So we approach every call, every dispatch, with the information we get based on those premises.
Thank you, Chief. I have a question back here.
Hello, I have a undiagnosed ADHD, so I'm just going to go ahead and shotgun this question out to everybody. If say a senior citizen needs help with their lawn or whatever, getting rid of the stuff, is there a nonprofit or an organization that you reach out to that might assist? That's just a quick thought. And then for firefighters, including firefighters, maybe the high schools or the colleges, this place. The way that the code enforcement talks about their care and their compliance and their education, maybe family law should be underneath you guys, helping the family, their family issues, you know what I mean? And then with 4th of July and the fires that happened in the area, I don't know how this applies in the city. I know I lived in the city of Marina for a while, and we did this event where we had a safe and sane space in like a parking lot, like maybe a grocery outlet parking lot or something, in every pocket of community, where people can come and do their safe and sane fireworks in a safe place, and maybe there's a fire person available to help with that. That way it's a safe place for everybody to do their thing. I think that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. I think those are great suggestions. Are there any other questions? I'm gonna come back to you.
Sorry. Hi guys. Thank you for the presentation from everybody up here. That's been fantastic. Police Chief Acosta. My question, I have two questions for you. One, where I live, the residents in that corner spot where I live are extremely concerned about traffic safety. We've had a fatality, some horrible accidents happen in that area. Do you guys proactively look at something like that in the area and say, okay, we need to do some kind of, suppression of this particular area to make sure those things aren't happening? The second part of my question is, what about these kids and these cars that are flying around our neighborhoods doing donuts, and with the loud cars and the big mufflers, and they're causing horrible annoyances to all of the residents in the neighborhoods? Is there any kind of plan for suppression of that?
Thank you. So first question is, we do go out there and provide proactive enforcement. There are many times, just like a meeting like today, the officers are writing down their notes, so we go back, we talk to the Area 5 officers, we talk to the district sergeant. We're very intentional about really being proactive in what information you give us. I'll give you a real good example. I was at City Hall outside in the lobby area, and a gentleman said he showed me video of his house. And there are cars going 70 miles an hour, probably 45 miles an hour. We took his map, we reached out to our motor officer, Raul Rosales, and went out there and put the speed trailer there. He actually just contacted Officer Rosales in the last few days and said it has been impactful, it has been helpful. We look at data, we look at trends, we look at numbers, we look at accidents, we look at this type of information obviously too. Whether it's Salinas Collect, whether it's an email, you can call our non-emergency. Sometimes calls don't rise to the level of an immediate response. Meaning, if you do call and say, I just saw 2 vehicles racing on this particular street, or they're doing donuts. 6 of my officers could be on a fatality crash in a major shooting. That doesn't mean that information doesn't get memorialized. It gets memorialized in our computer automated system. You take that information, and that's very helpful for us. Because I will also say, every one of my police officers is not on the call at every minute of the day. It is impossible. I used to be a police officer once, if you remember. So please continue to report that information. Because there might be a time when you do make a phone call and the officers are out in the area. Nick Ray is the officer back here, 20-year veteran, has been in a lot of units, very experienced, and he understands the dynamics on street racing, whether it's a call where there may be some suspicious activity. The officers are available, so continue to call. The second thing, we are trying to build our motorcycle team, our radar team, our enforcement team. Many weeks ago, we have collateral motor officers that come in on overtime that are trained to be motor officers, but I only have 2 full-timers. A city like this should probably have 10 full-timers, 10 full-time motorcycles. They went out and wrote 72 citations in 3 days. Right, so we are trying to, whether it's Baranda, whether it's Alisal, whether it's Laurel, that information is taken into account, so I appreciate that. So please continue to call. Even if you call and say, these are the vehicles that were in this area, they are no longer here, this is a partial plate that I have, or this is the color of the truck, that stuff gets memorialized, because guess what, our officers might be in a general area. So please continue to report, and we do make sure that we listen to your concerns and we actually try and do something about it.
Here we go, we have a comment up here.
This is the comment for all three of you, and just a suggestion. I'll let you know, District 5 has gotten overpopulated the past 20 years, and it's very difficult to patrol these streets and to, respond to emergencies. Have you thought about integrating AI into your crisis response software and started going down that avenue to, cut down on response times and, not sending a ladder truck out for a mental health crisis and such, or, having to send officers out for a full-on SWAT team for a domestic violence disturbance? That would be very beneficial for you guys to just kind of narrow it down and kind of save on resources. I know that, being understaffed is very critical for this community and for our safety. And, another one with code enforcement is a lot of these vacant, we got a lot of vacant commercial buildings, but we also got a lot of homes that have attached dwelling units where we have issues where your trash cans will block, parking spaces. The reason why they do that is to keep their parking spaces available for themselves. See, these are issues that we do have that we don't, it all circles back into that thing. And I think we should start holding these property managers and owners of commercial buildings and properties accountable for that. There should be no reason why Orchard Supply is sitting over there vacant. And that's where there's a lot of rampant crime and drug activity there. That whoever owns that property should be held accountable for that. They should, totally start fixing that. Anybody who has attached dwelling units, start making them pay for, parking permits and such things like that, because it's a powder keg that's about to explode here. We definitely need rent stabilization for sure. And this is where this District 5 is what I consider the forgotten district. We're not South Salinas, we're not, District 1 or any other districts like that. So, it's really hard for that, and I'll keep it under 2 minutes, but thank you.
I just want to make sure, and there will be opportunity to continue to give thoughts and comments, but I want to make sure that we hear from as many people as possible. So are there any other questions?
I've been a resident of District 5, and Andrew, I have to say thank you, Andrew, because some of our streets are looking so much better than they have in the past. I knew you shared with community members that this district was going to be one that was going to get some, road maintenance and all that, so I appreciate that. Also, it's good to see the amount of District 5 community members. I'm really happy that you are here to get the information that it's being offered all the departments. I wanted to ask you, Chief Acosta, I know you've been here for a few years. I remember being here when you first came to this county, but I wanted to ask you, what is the status with the police department in regards to the neighborhood watch groups?
Thank you, great question. We're very active with making sure that we can empower neighborhoods. I've only been here 1 year, but thank you.
Wow.
My anniversary was last month, so if we had some cake here, we'd share it with all of you. But our goal is to making sure that we empower neighborhoods, right? The other day, we had a neighborhood watch workshop. I would encourage you, before we leave, we'll give you that information. I know we talked before at another meeting, but our goal is to try and making sure that neighborhoods are creating these neighborhoods, because I will tell you, none of us can do our job, especially us, without the community support and those partnerships. You see something, say something, right? If we do have an incident that's critical, we need your cooperation. We need you to advocate for your neighbors. We need you to work with each other if you see a suspicious vehicle, right? There's Nextdoor, there's a lot of apps, there's a lot of programs out there. I can work with you if you'd like and give you the information. If you want to establish a neighborhood watch program, if you already have one, you want to bring on more resources and community members to that, we can do that. And we'll make sure that we can help you work on those projects.
Just real quick, I'm loud enough.
Yeah.
Can you give us an idea of what, in regards to Neighborhood Watch, what you've done to improve the program versus what we were all seeing prior to you coming in?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how much improvement we've done to the program. I know that we're trying to advocate for more communities, HOAs, neighborhoods. And she can also talk a little bit about that, but if there's any suggestions or ideas, not all the best ideas come from us. I'll tell you that first and foremost. The ideas come from all of you. So this is outstanding that you're asking these great questions, but we want to enhance those. So we'll connect after this meeting. I have 2 officers here that we can work with and get you that information. We can always have a meeting like this and just talk about neighborhood watch. We can bring city leaders, we can bring our community activity program personnel, we can give you flyers, we can help you develop the program, we can do all of that stuff. So that's a great question. So our goal is to enhance those and bring as many as we can to the community.
And Chief Kendall's an expert when we really worked together on our neighborhood watch group. So it went from starting, hosting your first meeting, seeing that there was interest, to us coming to every meeting. All you needed to do was let us know, hey, we're meeting, and that beat officer would make every effort to come, to say hi. If you needed a space to meet, the city could lend those spaces for your meetings. We had our neighborhood beautification grants, and we worked really closely with neighborhoods to implement projects. So there is a lot of opportunity. We've done it before. We're working to get there again. I have a question back here.
Hi, this is for I live over on Tulane Street, which is just one street up from here. We have no lights, we have no street lights, we have no speed bumps, and that street tends to be a main thoroughfare for people to get home, to get here to the elementary school to drop off their kids. It's not safe. A child has been hit in the past at the intersection at the corner right here, hit by a car that didn't see them because they may be going too fast. Unknown. But there's also no lights on our street. It's not safe. We don't get trick-or-treaters.
What block?
Right, Tulane.
Is there a certain place for the address block?
My address is 521. We can take a walk if you want after the meeting. I can show you. It's very unsafe. Huh? Yeah, so that's been a concern for us because there are children in that neighborhood.
So this is something that, thank you for letting me know. We could definitely work with engineering, public works, find out what's going on. I did get the information down. So I will report this back to engineering to see what we can do on that issue.
Councilmember Sandoval, we'll be having a second meeting where we'll hear from Public Works, Parks and Recreation, and I can't remember off the top of my head, but there will be an opportunity to directly connect with Public Works and talk about infrastructure in District 5 and in our neighborhoods. Was there another question?
Hi, my name is Noelle. This is my first meeting that I've ever gone to, so I apologize if my question seems a little shallow, or if I could have found this online at some point, but I just thought of these. So I have 2 questions. I was told by a friend that they were charged well over $1,000 for calling 911. Since then, I have hesitated to call 911 due to this. And this was in regards to like when there was roaming cows on the street, and I just, so there was that. And then my second question is, what is local law enforcement's role in regards to ICE? Thank you.
Thank you. As far as, I've never heard of, the only way that people get fined, and there are habitual callers, or people that call and abuse the 911 system. There has to be a criminal report generated, the district attorney has to see it in file. I don't know about any instances where you were charged $1,000 or your friend. We'd like to connect with you after that meeting and get more information and try and help out, but you know, if you need to call 911, you can call 911. Second question was, what is the police department's role with ICE? We don't have any role with ICE. Okay? As your police chief and this organization, this city, our job is to make sure that we provide the core services for every community member in the city. We are a welcoming city. Our job is to make sure that we're providing those core services. When you call 911, as a matter of fact, my officers are prohibited, okay, from asking your citizen status solely for the purpose for anything else other than investigative purposes. So that's our role.
In the case,
I've seen multiple videos of ICE getting way out of hand, you know, when they obtain people. Are we allowed to call you to, I don't know, like there was an instance of a man getting kneed on his neck, you know, and they would just, like, I don't know, they do some insane stuff. What, do we call you guys to help de-escalate that, or?
You could call that agency themselves. And if you wanted to file a complaint, if you saw something that you weren't comfortable with seeing, if you didn't felt that that individual was treated inappropriate, they weren't professional, my recommendation is you reach out to that agency. You have the right to request a supervisor or anybody related to that investigation. So that's what I would recommend you do.
I have a question up here.
Okay.
here, I'll hold it for you.
All right. Well, it's tough to be both actor and director. Am I in the shot? So I was curious for the police chief about SB 634. It's basically prevents like using the charge like aiding and abetting if you're a nonprofit providing. I suppose it's contraband or illegal material like a tent, a sleeping bag, clothes, food. And I guess I was just wondering if you're aware of that and what the city would do if a nonprofit was to distribute some of these supplies, these survival gear. Would that, how does that affect enforcement of like a sweep or just, you know, taking everything away from people that were given and supplied by a nonprofit?
We don't participate in unhoused sweeps. We're very empathetic to our community members. They are community members, they are residents. And by the way, it is not a crime to be unhoused. So as far as that specific code or what nonprofits can provide, I'm not too familiar with that, but I can tell you that our role and our goal is to making sure that we provide safety and security for every member of this community.
Thank you, Chief. Are there any other questions? I want to make sure I go to people I haven't heard from, and then I'll come back to you. Any other questions? Awesome.
This is for code enforcement and a few other questions. So how many more code enforcement people do you need in the field to be more effective? And then my follow-up question is, when the code enforcement has been effective in certain areas, does crime go down? Because the neighborhoods, knowing people there and they're concerned, and that concern can spread to neighbors being concerned with each other. So I'm wondering if crime goes down, when code enforcement is active, and then if in that area, same area, if the fire department came in and did their outreach and inspections in that same neighborhood, so you have a combination of code enforcement and fire coming in and doing a caring attitude, we're trying to make things safe and all that kind of stuff. And does that help crime go down? So my point is, do these community and police have their outreach, their cadets and their two outreach people? If they were in the same area and they did theirs, but then they, a few months later, repeated. So it's not a one and done, it's a repeatable thing. And then does crime go down? So the whole point of it is, what's the effect on the safety of the neighborhood when these things things happen simultaneously.
So the answer to your first question is how many more officers do we need? It's really not how many we need, it's how many we can get trained up. Because it's going to take some time to get the right person up and be effective. We can't just hire people and expect a change in the environment, change in the neighborhood. We do need a significant amount. The number I can't say. I don't know what that is, what that magic number is. But we do plan on growing in the near future. And growing from within, getting our 1s, 2s, seniors, and possibly new more managers, chief, I don't know. That's yet to be determined, but we do need to grow. As far as the presence of code enforcement being in the area, and the shotgun approach of going out there once and forgetting about it for a while and then coming back. One of the things we did with our vendor enforcement team is, because we tried that, we tried going out and working with the vendors. We were out there one weekend, we wouldn't go out again for another 2 months, probably would come back. It doesn't work. But with our vendor enforcement team that's out there every weekend, consistently talking to the vendors, being present. I don't know if anybody of you noticed, but there has been a big decrease in illegal venting. Food scope isn't the same that it was 2 years ago. The flower vendors, the parking lot itself. The flower vendors on some of the high impact or high collision areas. Because we've worked with Public Works and we've delegated some of these areas as high collision areas or high collision corridors, where we were able to keep our vendor program, actually create more vendors, give them spots, but control the chaos. So by us being out there, by us being constantly present, yes, it does decrease the violations that are occurring on there, which in turn would increase some of the crime that's going on there because they don't want to see us out there. With some of the vendors, we had a lot of drug activity. People selling drugs out there, being forced to sell drugs because of the gangs in the area. With us being constantly present, we were bad for business. So they don't want that. There's a thing called SEPTED, Crime Prevention through Environmental Design. And that's working with all the different departments in the division and being present. So what PD's present, the fire's present, it's code enforcement, the bad actors don't want that attention. So one of our goals is we did mark our vehicles. They do say code enforcement, we're driving around, people see it, and I think that has reduced a lot of the violations that are in the area. So with violations, it's broken window theory. If you ignore it, they're going to break it out of the window. So we're trying to be there to try to prevent that. So we're just one piece of the puzzle, and we're trying to make this work. And I think it has been effective, and we would like to grow.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? One more, that's good.
My 2 minutes. Again, Chief Casa, sorry. Can you explain to everybody here the steps that are involved with a potential cadet coming to the police department? What training do they have to go through before coming to you? And then what's the training afterwards? So we have an understanding of what they go through to join the police department.
So police recruit, not cadet, police recruit, a new officer, yes. So the city of Salinas, we obviously want to hire as many police officers as we can. There is many layers of components of what it takes to be hired as a police officer. Right? First, they have to have a high school education or GED. This agency doesn't require any colleges, so our goal is to get them hired. They have to go through a rigorous process, which is a written exam, a psychological exam. They have to do a physical exam, which incorporates a mile and a half. It's a little obstacle course. You have to go over a wall under a certain amount of seconds. So it is a rigorous program to get through. Once you go through that, you get interviews, you get a psychological test, you get a medical exam. Then you get hired, and then you go to a police academy here locally. What we try to do is make sure that our prospective recruits or cadets attend various different academies. They attend NPC. They attend the Santa Clara County Sheriff's Department's Academy. They also attend the San Jose Police Department Specific Academy, where in the city of San Jose Police Academy, they actually have to go to the CIT Academy. That is incorporated in that academy, and they actually learn 20 hours of Spanish. So there's a lot of extra training that they get there that we're looking to obviously try and incorporate. That's logistically, personnel, and money. It costs a lot of money, but those are steps that it takes. We actually just hosted, and we're about to host another one here in January, which is an oral board workshop assessment here at the Salinas Police Department Community Room, where we try to introduce all of these facets to get hired as a police officer. So we can encourage them, provide resources for them, help them, and we actually do oral board workshops. You go through a presentation, what it really takes and how to pass a police assessment questionnaire question. So there's a lot of steps. These are the things that we do. All of this information is on our website, our recruiting website, that has oral board workshops, and it has all the steps it takes to become a police officer here in the city of Salinas.
Maybe a follow-up one.
The training in the police academy is about 4.5 months.
Sorry, how much?
4.5 months.
Thank you. I'm going to call out for questions one more time. Now, any other questions? Awesome. Thank you all so much for being here. Before you guys go, if you didn't sign in, please sign in. This is a way that we can continue to stay connected with you and continue to send information. Don't go, we're not done yet. Continue to send information to you and keep you up to date on future meetings. Also, before you go, please take a moment to complete our District 5 Community Center pop-up. And again, thank you from our city staff, and I'll pass it on to Councilmember Sandoval.
I'll be quick, folks, but I just want to thank you all for joining us today. I've had a chance to interact with almost everybody here, and your engagement in city government is so important. Sending emails, showing up. We have such a cross-section of people here, from small business owners, it's your first community meeting, so props for getting involved. Maria will tell you, and a lot of folks here, how important it is to get involved. Our city is making some great progress in a lot of departments. And so I do want to give kudos to our fire department, really excellent at getting grants, our fire chief, great fire master plan, and so our police department is doing a great job hiring people locally. Code enforcement and community development are doing a great job of trying to be more proactive and find more resources to be able to do those things. So as your District 5 council member, please keep the pressure on. We need, not just on me, but we need to keep pressure on my colleagues to keep providing services. I'll be here for a little while, and then I'll give you my number, and I'll probably go take a walk down to Lane. All right, thank you all for coming.